Hey, I'm Tyler, and we're going to finish up the review here in this video. It's the fifth part. You've been with us for a while, but stick with it, we're almost done. Alright, so this question asks, by whom monetary policy is determined? And what monetary policy is changes in the money supply. So we know that it's either B or D, and then who is in charge of the money supply? The Federal Reserve. So the answer is D. Alright, so this one's similar, but it asks about fiscal policy. So what's fiscal policy? It's changes in the government spending and taxation. So we know it's not B or D. And now who is in charge of changing government spending and taxation? It's not the Federal Reserve, they change the money supply. It's Congress makes the laws that deal with government spending and taxation, and the President signs them. So the correct answer is A. So people choose to hold a larger quantity of money if. So this is essentially people decrease their savings if. So what is the relationship between interest rate and savings? So if the interest rate's high, you want to save because you're getting a good return on that investment. So if the interest rate's high or it goes up, people will hold less money. So we know that the answer is not going to be A or C. So we know that the interest rate falls, and what that does is it decreases the opportunity cost of holding money, because when you're holding money, you're foregoing the interest payments that you would get. So the correct answer here is D. So which of the following events here would shift money demand to the right? Alright, so this one asks about shifts in the money demand curve. So let's just take a look at the money demand curve real quick. It's basically between interest rate and quantity. So the interest rate is what determines the quantity demanded of money. So if the interest rate goes up, we just have a movement along the curve. So we know that a change in the interest rate won't shift the curve, so we know it's not C or D. And so let's think about the price level. So when the price level increases, things get more expensive. And it costs more to buy things, so you're going to want more money to be able to do that. So the answer is A. An increase in the price level will shift money demand to the right. Alright, so this is a similar question, but it has to do with the money supply and what happens to the market then. So again, this is the market for money. We got money demand going down, quantity, interest rate. Money supply is a straight vertical curve because it is constant, determined by the Federal Reserve. So this is what happens if the money supply decreases. Well, we can just see from here that the interest rate is going to go up. So we know that the answer is not B or D. And what's going to happen to stock prices? So there's a lot that goes into stock prices, and it's kind of tricky to attribute a change just to something like this. But what will happen is when the interest rate goes up, investment goes down because it's more expensive to borrow the money needed to invest. And so the companies, they'll increase the quantity of stock available in their company because it's a way to get money without dealing with the interest rate. So just like a normal supply and demand curve or market, when you increase the supply of a good, the price goes down. So the firms will increase the supply of their stock, which will cause the stock prices to fall. So interest rates rise, stock prices fall. Correct answer is C. Alright, so an increase in government purchases will have what effect on aggregate demand? So remember, aggregate demand is consumption plus investment plus government spending plus net exports. So an increase in government purchases results in an increase in aggregate demand. So the aggregate demand curve shifts to the right with an increase in government purchases. Correct answer is A. So this one's a little bit wordier. So the margin of propensity to consume in a given market is 0.9. So we don't have to worry about the crowding out or investment accelerator effects. And so we're just going to be dealing with the multiplier here. So government increases expenditures by $30 billion. The government spends $30 billion that weren't in the economy before. So that's subject to the multiplier. And the multiplier for this is 1 over 1 minus the marginal propensity to consume, which here is 0.9. And so you get 1 over 0.1 equals 10. So the multiplier for government spending is 10. So you multiply that 30 billion times 10, and the total effect of that government expenditure increase is 300 billion. So right away we know that A and B are not right. So let's say that the government decreases taxes by 30 billion. Now it's kind of tempting to say that it'll have the same effect because it's just subject to the multiplier still, but actually taxation has a different multiplier. And what it is the MPC over 1 minus MPC. So that's 0.9 over 0.1, which we found from earlier, 1 minus MPC, and that's 9. So it's a slightly smaller multiplier because technically there's no more money going into the economy, you're just letting people save more money and spend more money. So you multiply that 30 billion tax decrease by 9, and you get 270. So the effect of the government decrease in taxes by 30 billion is 270. The answer is C. And so again, the big takeaway here is that there's two separate multipliers for government spending and for taxes. And so the reason that the tax multiplier is smaller is because it indirectly affects aggregate demand. So government spending is part of aggregate demand, like we saw in the previous question. So that 30 billion goes right into aggregate demand, and then the multiplier takes into effect. So that's why the multiplier is bigger for government spending. But taxes, it doesn't directly factor in that 30 billion into aggregate demand, so the effect's a little bit smaller, and that's why the tax multiplier is smaller than the government spending multiplier. I hope that helped. If you have any questions, leave a comment on the YouTube page or come to the Tutoring Center BA 211. Thanks.